Should you stay or should you go? That's something that we're going to determine in this video. Are you feeling anxious because you're in a relationship that is going nowhere? Are you a fearful, avoidant attachment style and you are feeling triggered either by your avoidant side or your anxious side? It could be because you're in a relationship going nowhere. And that might be a hard truth. That might be something that you're running from, something that you're avoiding because it feels terrible. But what is happening in your relationship? And has there ever been somebody that you were dating and you just felt like it's not going anywhere? Or there was somebody that you really, really liked and things didn't work out? Was it because it was going nowhere? I think you have to be aware of what is happening in your relationship and how do you define it. Is going nowhere a week after you've met? Sometimes when you are fearful, avoidant, FA, it can be a challenge to even understand the pace of a relationship. Like, how quickly is it supposed to move? How slowly is it going to move? You don't have a map to follow, and it's frustrating because you don't know. But is the relationship feeling really good to you? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel happy? Do you feel like you're getting to know the person, that you're having ample opportunity to get to know them? Are they making you feel secure? Are they edifying you in some way? Are they making you feel good about yourself? Do you guys talk for hours on the phone? Do you laugh together? Are you seeing each other? What is going on? There are different levels of relationships going nowhere. What about his text messages? I can remember talking to a couple of guys years ago, and the texts were so empty. It would be like, hello. And I might say, how are you? Fine. They wouldn't even say, how are you back? Nothing. It would be these one word answers that went nowhere. So it was like, what is the point? We can't even get to phone conversations, let alone a date, and the text messages suck. And then there are guys who their text messaging may suck, and then you get on the phone with them and they have a lot to say. And it could be the same for guys who are dating women. So you want to know, you want to say, okay, where is this going? If you're only texting and you never talk on the phone, is that a relationship going anywhere? If you text and you talk on the phone, but you never ever meet in person, is that a relationship that's going nowhere? Let's say you have all three things going on. You're texting, you're talking on the phone, you're meeting in person, you're having great dates. How do you determine whether or not that's going somewhere? How often are you dating? Does he talk to you on the phone, and you only see each other like once a month or every 3 weeks? Or you talk on the phone and you only talk about once a week? Is that going somewhere? And yes, I'm talking about this kind of from a female perspective because I'm a female. So guys, if you're watching this video and you're fearful, avoidant, you're going to be feeling triggered about relationships either going nowhere, or could you be the person that's creating a situation where the relationship goes nowhere? And if a relationship is going nowhere, what could be the factor? It could be because he's already in a committed relationship, and so he's already devoted to that person. I talk in my book, Flip the Script on Love, about how sometimes men don't multitask well when it comes to relationships because it's like, I'm over here, now I'm over there. Whereas women can kind of juggle multiple things at the same time and you won't miss a beat or feel a difference. They could have multiple people too, but they know how to make every person feel like, oh, you're so wanted, you're so important. So it could be that it's going nowhere because there's multiple people involved. Number two, it could be that he's just not into you. I don't know if you remember a book called He's Just Not Into You, or I think there was a movie called that. So it could be that the relationship is stagnant because it's not going anywhere. Now, what do people with fearful avoidant attachment styles do. They can start to make things up because they struggle with a baseline, like what is a relationship, how fast or slow should it go. They're going to be there's the potential for a lot of confusion for them in that area. So it's no wonder that you're questioning, is this relationship going somewhere? Going somewhere means it's moving forward. You're not being triggered into an anxious state all the time. For someone who has anxious in their attachment style, they may have the expectation of going way too quickly. They might think after a week, you're supposed to be proposing to them or saying, I want to marry you, because their anxious side might rev that feeling up and make them feel like, I need stability. I need to know. I need to know where this is going. I need to know, are you marriage minded? Because women want marriage. So they may try to move things too quickly because they have a strong need for closure so that their anxious side isn't activated. So they may feel like, I need to know right now. So I don't think that a man should wait forever before he tells you. I think if things are going consistently for like 6 months, I would say 6 months minimum. Sorry, some people might think that's too short of a time. If things are going well, or you've been seeing a person for 6 months and you feel like things are moving along great, then it's okay to know, hey, where is this going? Like, are we heading towards marriage? Is that something that you see? I think it's okay to want to know, but I think sometimes you have to give people a chance to get to know you and give yourself the time to get to know him, because you could be triggered into anxious states that make you feel like you just need to be with somebody. And you might look back later and say, that would have been such a huge mistake. That guy isn't even my type. And I'm speaking from a female perspective because I'm a woman. However, men, you fill in the blanks. So you might be like, okay, wow, well, I'm so glad that didn't go anywhere, because yeah, the guy looked good. He was sexy, but his personality was not like, we didn't have a lot to talk about, or I didn't feel very engaged with him. So thank goodness it didn't work. And when you compare him to another guy, you're like, wow, that guy was the one. And maybe it didn't work out, but I felt like we were soulmates. So we can get into an anxious state that makes us jump into things quickly, or into relationships that otherwise we wouldn't be interested in. So you have to evaluate that. And if you're in a situation and you're feeling anxious all the time, it could be because you're not being satisfied in ways that you need to be satisfied in. You're not getting the stability. There's too many patterns that aren't consistent. Like, he might call you every day. I mean, every day for a week. And then you don't hear from him for a week. That's a huge clue. Or let's say you've been talking for a month and then suddenly he goes a week and doesn't say anything to you. It could be his intimacy cycle that's being triggered, where he's pulling back so that he can evaluate and think things through, or he may have an anxious attachment style built in, or avoidant actually. He either has both, or he's pulling back because he's avoidant and he's getting scared and he needs to work through some things. Is that a pattern that you're seeing all the time? And how does it make you react? Do you say, oh, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want him to run away from me even more, so I'm just going to pretend like he didn't run from me? It's a little tricky, because if you don't bring it up, then you're letting him do things that are triggering you. But then if you do bring it up, it could spoof him and make him feel afraid. But your feelings are important too. The reason why this is so important to figure out for a fearful avoidant is because it could be super upsetting to them if they are involved too long in a relationship that is not moving forward, where they're wasting their time, or they could mess up a really good thing because the pace is actually really good and they screw it all up because they're feeling freaked out for some reason, or the other person pulls back a little bit too long. Now they're scared. Now I want to get out of it. So it's figuring out what you need in the relationship to feel okay. What makes a relationship enjoyable for you? And if you were to be completely honest, even if you're in a relationship where you feel like something is a little off, what is it that you're needing for a relationship to feel really good to you? Are you the kind of person that needs a little bit more space? Or are you the kind of person that needs more? Like, I need more consistency. We're not talking every day. At the same time, you want to kind of see what the rhythm of the relationship is really going to be like. Because what if you're with somebody who's a dismissive, avoidant attachment style, and he's going to be the kind of person, or she's going to be the kind of person that's very distant, very cold. They're not going to want a lot of interaction. They may seem really friendly and fun and exciting. And then when it comes to relationship world, they don't want to talk. They don't want to engage. They are looking for reasons to run and escape a relationship. And that's something you have to ask yourself as a fearful avoidant. Are you looking for reasons to escape the relationship? I once thought that if I didn't feel instant, like I'm in love with you, then that must mean I'm not going to fall in love with you, because the first fall in love situation I ever experienced was an instant falling in love. And then I found out from another relationship where I felt strong attraction, like, ooh, he is hot. H-O-T. But I didn't feel in love with him. And if you had asked me, was I going to fall in love with him? I would have told you no, because it hasn't happened. But over time, I actually felt like I fell in love with him over time, over getting to see different sides of him, how he acted in different situations, his funny side, his serious side, his compassion for other people. There were just all these layers that started to build themselves. And I think he also was a little bit shy at first and would occasionally still be a little shy. But then I would see his outgoing side, and something magical happened over time. I actually fell in love. And yet there were other guys that I knew for long periods of time and I never fell in love. So every relationship can be a little different. So once again, we're trying to determine, are you in a relationship that's going nowhere? I think we also have to determine, how did you meet? Were you fixed up with someone, by someone that you know, where they said, oh, I think you two would be great together, let me introduce you? Or did you meet somewhere? Were you hanging out somewhere and you met this person at Starbucks, at the grocery store, at a club, at a party? How did you meet? Or did you meet online? Because if you meet online, you know for sure we are interested in each other. There's no question. There's no guesswork. We're here to date. What happens sometimes in like college settings or work settings, you're interacting with each other. You have feelings for each other, but you don't know, is he interested in me or not? How do you know that unless somebody finally has the courage to say, hey, are we interested in each other? And you might be afraid to do that if you're in the workplace, because you might think, well, what if they don't like me and I have to keep seeing them? Or what do our work policies say about this? So it can be really maddening and tricky. So if you're saying, I'm in a situation that's going nowhere, it could be that you're like, I can tell he likes me because I like him, but I'm kind of guessing because he's never said it and he never, ever, 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 ever says it. Months go by, a year goes by, now you're in year 2, and you are set on this guy asking you out because you are falling so hard for him and he never does it. Is that a relationship that's going somewhere or isn't it? Sometimes we can hold up our entire life for somebody who's not interested enough to make the move. You also have to think of traditional values. Even though there are some women who are more assertive and aggressive and I'm going for what I want, I'm going to ask you out. I think men need to realize a great majority of women are still not at that place yet. So if you want to know if she likes you, you're going to have to make the move. Don't wait for her to do it, because traditionally speaking, hardwiring, whateverly speaking, women are not generally hardwired that way. And you might feel like, golly, it takes so much courage and I don't want to be rejected. I understand all that, but it's worth the risk. What if she is really into you? Maybe you can figure out a creative way to do it. Maybe give her a little something on Valentine's Day and see how she reacts. Write her a note. I don't know, unless you feel, maybe even involve another person that you both feel comfortable with to help you to make it. To me, it doesn't matter. Like, if a guy likes me and he doesn't have the courage and he gets somebody he knows to help him out, I don't care. Just figure it out. It's okay. I want to make people feel safe. And I think we all need to make a concerted effort to not make people feel humiliated when they find the courage to say, hey, I like you. I think sometimes fearful avoidance can feel safer with no movement, believe it or not, because it gives them an excuse to not move forward, to keep their anxious side at bay. So sometimes being in a relationship going nowhere feels more comfortable than one that is. Because when one is, you have to take action. You have to take the risk of your avoidant and your anxious side being triggered. You got two things that get triggered and make everything confusing and scary and nerve-wracking. So I understand that, but you're not going to be happy in the long run. Sometimes we have to face our fears and push through them, shaking, butterflies and all. So it's better to say, you know what? This guy, nothing has happened. It's been 2 years. He hasn't approached me. I may be making all of this up in my head that this guy is interested in me and he isn't. So why not be open to other opportunities? It's important to be open to other dating opportunities if one is not going anywhere. We can tend to be loyal to someone who doesn't deserve our loyalty. So you have to be careful of that. You have to be objective. Even if you're more of a feeling type of person, you've got to work your logic and say, let me be real with myself, even if it hurts, even if it's going to make me feel devastated and sad, even if I'm not ready to deal with it, I need to be honest. Is this situation going anywhere? No, it isn't. Or yes, it is. If it is, you're going to feel it because it's going to feel good. It's going to feel comforting. It's going to feel like we are connecting and we just can't get enough of each other. Like, this is so much fun. Every time we talk, we learn more about each other and we just keep taking steps forward. Have you been in a romantic relationship for more than 2 years and he hasn't proposed to you? He hasn't asked you to marry him. Now, if he's 19 or 20 or 22 and he's just getting his career going, let's give him a little bit of, you might want to be married to him, but let's give him a chance to get his footing. But as we get older, if he's not, it's 2 years later and there's no talk of marriage, proposals, nothing, you definitely need to talk about it. I would say after a year, if you are dating and you're seeing each other and there's no discussion of marriage, engagement, it doesn't take that long. It just doesn't. And women's biological clocks are shorter way shorter than men, because men, you will never have to carry a baby for 9 months. And you're not going to have to depend on your body being able to do that, or a certain time frame when the eggs stop being released. That's a realistic thing that women have to deal with and face, whether anybody likes it or not. So yes, they do. Women do need to know a lot quicker than you may need to know, because our bodies depend on it. So do we have a lot of time to waste? We just don't. We do not. And fair, not fair, it's just the honest truth. So, is your relationship moving forward? So, let's go in a little deeper on what it means for a fearful avoidant attachment style when a relationship is going nowhere. So, a relationship that feels stagnant often poses a unique challenge for someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style. This attachment style is characterized by a desire for closeness, but simultaneous fear of intimacy and vulnerability. So, in a relationship going nowhere, a fearful avoidant individual may experience a constant internal struggle. They might yearn for deep emotional connection, but feel overwhelmed by the risk involved. This can lead to feelings of anxiety about being abandoned or rejected, prompting them to withdraw or keep their partner at arm's length. They may oscillate between wanting to engage and pulling away, creating confusion and frustration for both partners. The fear of being hurt can result in avoidance behavior, such as reluctance to discuss important relationship issues or a tendency to downplay their own needs. They might rationalize staying in a stagnant relationship, believing that it's safer to remain in a familiar situation than to pursue the uncertainty of change. Additionally, this pattern can lead to feelings of loneliness and dissatisfaction. The fearful avoidant individual might find themselves questioning their worth or the potential of the relationship, often feeling trapped between the desire for connection and the instinct to protect themselves from emotional pain. This inner turmoil can perpetuate a cycle of avoidance, leaving both partners feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. So ultimately, for a relationship to evolve, it may require addressing these fears and working towards building a sense of security and trust. Open communication, which could be difficult, setting boundaries, and possibly seeking counsel can help navigate the complexities of a fearful avoidant attachment style, allowing for healthier relationship dynamics. So, when discussing a relationship that seems to be going nowhere, it's important to approach the conversation with sensitivity and openness. So, I wanted to give you guys some conversation starters that can help to facilitate a meaningful dialogue. So, number one, reflecting on feelings. You could say, I've been feeling like our relationship hasn't been progressing as I hoped, but how do you feel about where we are? Number two, identifying goals. You could say, what do you envision for our relationship in the future? Are there specific goals or milestones you think we should work towards? Three, discussing needs. You could say, I think it might be helpful to talk about our needs and expectations. What do you feel is missing for you right now? You see how these conversation starters are creating movement, because that's the goal. Being stagnant can freak somebody out, and it's not going to feel good, and it could lead you to jeopardize the relationship or start yelling at them or getting angry. So we don't want to get to that point. We want to figure out, how can we move the relationship forward? Let's try to do it. Number four, exploring barriers. Are there things you think are holding us back from moving forward? How can we address those together? Five, sharing perspectives. You could say, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can improve our connection. What do you think would make our relationship feel more fulfilling? Six, considering changes. You could say, what changes do you think we could make to help revitalize our relationship? Is there something new we could try together? 7, checking in. How do you feel about our communication lately? Do you think we've been open enough with each other? 8, evaluating commitment. Do you feel like we're both equally invested in this relationship? What does commitment look like for you? 9, discussing future together. Where do you see us in a year? Do you think we're on the same page about our future? And 10, emphasizing support. I want us to be able to support each other through this. How can I be there for you as we navigate this? So this can help to create a safe space for honest dialogue, allowing both partners to express their feelings and work towards understanding each other better. Now, there is this couple, and I'll admit I watched them on YouTube, and they actually just became a couple. I have been watching the guy for years, and all of a sudden he has a fiance and she has a ring on her finger. Now, what's interesting is I thought the guy indicated that he was gay, and maybe I misunderstood, but I'm pretty sure that he insinuated that and kind of made it clear. So now all of a sudden he has a fiance, she has a ring on her finger, and it just seems like it came out of nowhere. He moved her from a different state in with him. And just to throw something interesting in there, the little boy has a very biblical name that is unusual. So it made me kind of question this a little bit. And the reason I'm bringing this up is sometimes as a disorganized attachment style or fearful avoidant attachment style, we can be so anxious to get closure, to get married, to find someone to commit to us, that we miss red flags. We don't get to know them well enough. And then we could end up in a situation that still goes nowhere. So with this situation, maybe he felt like I'm getting older. Maybe he felt like I really want a traditional relationship. I want to have kids. I don't know. But it just seems to move so quickly where she's moving out of state into this man's house, and she has a child with a biblical name, which is an indicator to me that her Christianity is important to her. So now she's living in the house with this man, and even though he gave her a ring, it sounds like they are, my guess is they're probably doing everything that married people do. She was at home doing the laundry and cooking and doing all of these things. And you may be in a situation where you're like, okay, we have the ring, we're engaged, and things aren't moving forward. Because when you say, okay, when's the date? It gets prolonged. I'm not quite ready yet. There's always an excuse. Instead of, I got the ring, the date is going to be 6 months from now, and I'm planning the wedding if you want to have a wedding, and there's always a reason why you shouldn't yet, even though you have the ring. That lets you know that the relationship is stagnant. It is not moving forward. And I think it's so hard. That's why moving in with somebody, you might want to be careful of that. Giving someone everything they want in the bedroom, you might want to be careful of that, because it could bring things to a halt because the other person has everything they want. I wanted you to be living in the house with me. We got that. We're doing the Humpty Dumpty, and everything is great for me. So I'm afraid of a piece of paper because I'm a fearful avoidant attachment style. So I got you right where I want you. So I don't have to be afraid of getting married because I already got everything I wanted. So I'm going to keep things here. That is not fair to you at all. So you need to be honest with yourself and work through that, because I've known people who look up and 10 years later, 12 years later, they're still with the same person and there's no movement. You don't want that to be you, because there might be somebody else who is going to give you what you want, and you're going to feel even more attracted to that person. So I've given you guys my take on it, but I want to know, is there anybody who's listening and you are wondering if your relationship is going nowhere? Put it in the comments so we can jump in and try to help you. And if you are fearful avoidant, you definitely want to read my book, Flip the Script on Love, because I'm fearful avoidant in romantic relationships, and I wrote the book to help myself, and I shared it with you guys. Also, being with a narcissist is not the same as fearful avoidant, but people like to call people with fearful avoidance a narcissist when things don't work out because of an attachment style. You need to know the difference. It's important. So check out my book, The Workplace Narcissist, which is about the workaholic narcissist who could be super sexy. And if you need to understand people better, I wrote a book called From ENFJ with Love, because I'm an ENFJ and I teach you all about the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types. So understanding people better. Are they silly, goofy, spontaneous? They like schedules. You will learn all about that in my book, and it will help you. So check those out. A link in the description box. And I love you guys. Be sure to subscribe, and we can do this journey together. As I learn more and more about fearful avoidant and attachment style, I'll teach you too. So I'll see you lovely, wonderful people on the next video. Love you. Bye.